That Washington football team is really fucking good.
Everything we do is going to be about winning. Okay, we're going to learn to do things the right way, and that's the only way we're going to do them. Because if it doesn't help us, we're not doing it, man. That's just as simple as it gets. Win the Super Bowl. That's I mean it, too. You know, one of the things that the only reason you become a head coach in this league, in my opinion, is to win. That's it. That's the bottom line. If you do it for any other reason, you're wrong.
Hey, Washington football fans, welcome back. Week 6, and I think it's time to pack it in. After losing a very winnable game this week and a very winnable game last week, I don't even want to talk about the game or what went wrong or the little bit that went right. I want to talk about what we can do to actually get use out of this season from a rebuilding aspect, because that's where we're at. I think it's time to make some moves before the trade deadline. Before we talk about that, can I ask you guys to go ahead and hit that like button and go down and hit that subscribe down below? It would mean a lot to me, and I appreciate you guys. So, I think Ron Rivera has lost the fan. At least most of them. Now, he can still get them back if he shows some competence and some direction. The talk about tempering our expectations and player development show that we didn't have any postseason expectations. And that's fine if you're going to show signs of making this team better for the future. You know, so far he's done okay with the development of the rookies. And here in Washington, we've been guilty of hanging on to players too long for nostalgia reasons. And when Ron came here, he brought some guys with him that had no business on the team, but he also cut loose the players that we were unreasonably attached to. Ron admitted his mistakes in Carolina and letting the team get too old. Now it's time for him to put his money where his mouth is and try to cash in by moving on a little bit earlier and actually getting something out of some of these players. There are some big moves Ron could make to upgrade this team for the future. And with that, you know, he can give a lot more developmental reps to our young players. I think the best way to do that would be to trade away some of our veteran players to needy teams for possible pieces that could help our future. First off, I know our offensive line is in a little bit of flux with Sheriff and Cosme out this weekend. So I'm recommending a little 4D chess here. First, I think we should sign Rick Wagner, offensive tackle, Roderick Johnson, another offensive tackle, and Joe Dahl, guard. Signing these players gives us, you know, relatively cheap depth with our injuries, but it also dries up a very limited free agent talent pool. And in doing that, it frees up our most valuable assets to be dealt. Charles Leno, Cornelius Lucas, and Sheriff are all free agents after this season. And they're all turning 31 next year. So they're not in our future plans. but they could make very attractive trade options for teams looking for short-term fixes, for playoff pushes, or, to keep rookie quarterbacks from ending up like David Carr. These guys could be one-year rentals that net us pieces to get this team where it needs to be starting next season. Even on short-term rentals, Sheriff coming off an all-pro season, Lucas having a solid season last year, and having either side flexibility, and then Leno playing like one of the top pass protectors in the league, could net us some real value. This will cause a huge hit to our offensive line production. But I think, Taylor's scrambling ability, along with the fact that he's probably not the guy anyway, so we're not risking much, and the performance we're getting from the rest of the line, we can handle the hit we're going to take for the greater good of upgrading the team for the future. I know some of you might think that it's a dumb idea to trade away talented offensive linemen, but keep in mind, all these guys are over 30 and free agents next year, so they're only doing us good in the meantime, and we're not going to be able to do anything with them. Some of you might doubt that these guys have any trade value at all, but given their talent level and position importance, along with all that, they could be a huge value to a needy team. For struggling teams, starter quality offensive tackles are worth their weight in gold. And Sheriff's all-pro status, like that, all those things carry weight. We'll get better trade value from them if we trade it for a player instead of picks, but we should be open to either. I'm going to touch on, possible player trades here mostly. I'll have picks involved to balance things, but I think players are the focus. Dealing all these guys to needy teams could really set this team up for next year. I really think it could. So, the first possible trade partner, the one I think makes the most sense for a number of reasons, is Ron's old team, the Carolina Panthers. Carolina looked like a real juggernaut until, strangely enough, they hit our division, and then the Cowboys and Philly kind of ate their lunch. But Darnold was looking pretty competent in their system, but his protection's failing him bad. They've tried to fix this problem by moving Taylor Moton from right tackle to left tackle, and all that did was made the line weak on both sides. So, trading for Leno gives, them a hell of a pass protecting left tackle and lets Moton move back to secure, the right side and make the whole line stronger. I know, it's dangerous trading to them, still having them on the schedule. And I know Ron would love to have every advantage over them, but they still have a legitimate, playoff aspiration. And we should be looking to build for the future. So don't let short-term pride step on our development. The problem with Carolina is I don't know what makes sense to ask for in a trade. It would depend on the vibe. Do they think they have a shot? Are they relatively desperate? Do they want to go all in to make a push this year? The value at the tackle position gives me confidence that, we actually have a bit of leverage here. So I say go big and try to send Leno and Sheriff for second rounder from last year, Jeremy Chin, and recently acquired CJ Henderson. Chin is looking a little less impressive, being played further from the line this year, and we'd look to bring him back to a linebacker type role like he excelled at last year. And they traded a third rounder and a journeyman tight end for CJ. So after that, they traded for Stephon Gilmore the following week. So they're loading up the push this year. And CJ they must not view him as the answer. So I think his value is not so high for them. If you think this is a crazy trade, understand a starting left tackle is far and away more valuable than a safety or a linebacker. And then the stability that Sheriff would bring to that line, it would make their line one of the best in football. Leno, Moton on the other side, Sheriff beside him. It would really beef their lineup and give them a real chance. And for a team so strong defensively, a move like that, since they already have Stephon Gilmore, it makes them a real threat for a championship push. And for us, the linebacker type role for Chin, like that he played last year, was exactly what I had in mind when I said we should have acquired Obi Melifonwu in previous videos. I think he could make a huge difference for us. And then how Ben St. Juste is progressing, I think we could tap into that with CJ Henderson and bring him to his full potential and make him a core piece of this defense for years to come. So, two pieces that Carolina aren't really maximizing that could help us tremendously going forward for a solid left tackle and right guard to help secure the Panthers' entire line. I think it's a perfect trade for both sides. Some people might view it as a lopsided or whatever, but when you factor everything in, it's a one year lease from us, and it's players they don't appear to be maximizing anyway. I think it's a great trade, but I got some other options here. I also think the Indianapolis Colts would be a great trade partner. Carson Wentz, just against the Texans, showed what he can do from a clean pocket. Like, he carved the Texans up. But he's also shown how fragile he can be this year. Sadly, his high-end performance was because of the quality of the Texans team and not the strength of Indy's line. They have a possible first rounder tied up in Wentz's health and success. So protecting him is key to success this season. Protecting a franchise quarterback is a very important thing. Right now, he's missing his star left guard for a couple weeks. His left tackle, Eric Fisher, is playing awfully. So trading them Leno, who's one of the best pass blocking left tackles in the league this year, and Sheriff would be a huge help. It would give Wentz a chance to carve up just about anyone, not just the Texans of the league. But what is it worth to them? Obviously, I would love to take a swing at landing one of the best linebackers in the league in Darius Leonard, but with his new contract, I don't see that as very likely at all. And it might not be the best move for us because he's getting a lot of money. But maybe landing one of his proteges in either 8.4 RAS score Bobby Okereke or freak athlete 9.19 EJ Speed, along with, if we send Lucas instead of Leno, a third round pick, or If we send Leno a second-round pick, this might be a situation where just getting picks is better. I think a conditional second and third for Sheriff and Leno would be the perfect deal. It'd be conditional because, if Carson Wentz doesn't make it through the season, they owe that second to Philly instead of the first. But either way, adding Leno and Sheriff to Nelson when he gets healthy immediately changes, their complexion to a playoff team. They'd have one of the best lines in football at that point, and that's got to be worth a second and a third round pick. Any of these scenarios would help big for us, getting EJ Speed, Bobby Okereke, a third, all that would help us. So I think it's definitely an avenue we should explore. And also, while we're at it, I think we should go ahead and sign Malik Jefferson off their practice squad. He's a linebacker with a ton of potential that just hasn't been able to tap into it yet. The next trade partner I think would be a great idea would be the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, they're definitely not a team that's in the hunt by any stretch of the imagination. But they could be a great possible trade partner because they have the number 1 overall pick at quarterback. And unless they want to see him go the way of David Carr or drastically shorten his career like Andrew Luck, they need to address that offensive line. I think we could end up with some pretty good value here. I still think Carolina's probably the best deal, but this could be comparable. So Urban Meyer has shown that he doesn't value the current players on that team much at all. With how low he shipped off CJ Henderson for, and he did that to help his rookie quarterback. So we got a good chance of, doing the same here. I think Leno and maybe a 7th round pick for Myles Jack and Jawan Taylor gives everybody what they want. Myles Jack, in his 6 seasons, only 26 years old, and he's one of the most dynamic athletes at the linebacker position in the NFL. He's flashed at times and looked like the best coverage linebacker in the whole league. Now, he hasn't fulfilled his potential yet, and he really isn't thriving under Urban either. So I think he'd gladly part ways with him to help his franchise quarterback. I think Ron and Jack could get the best out of Myles Jack, and, it would help us fill a glaring need for coverage at the linebacker position. Jawan Taylor was highly touted coming out in the draft 3 years ago, and he slid into the second, and he just hasn't looked great since. I think we can get the best out of him too. We just seem to have a knack for getting the most out of offensive linemen. And this is a guy that had a ton of potential coming out. He's not working out there, so we send them a sure shot piece to protect their franchise guy, and then we get back cast-offs. But he's a young guy that could be a solid piece of our offensive line for a long time, and a great coverage linebacker. Sending Leno over there, they could move Robinson to right tackle where he's probably better suited, and it gives them a little bit of time to bring Walker Little along, slowly. So another trade I think that really helps everybody all the way around. The next trade, I've mentioned this a couple times before, I believe, but Chicago is the perfect candidate for a trade. Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are just about out of chances in Chicago. Their job hinges on Justin Fields' success. They could be very desperate to help him in any way possible. And the pass blocking there is a huge weakness. Charles was just there last season, and there's no doubt they regret letting him go. So getting him back offers the chance for a seamless fit back in the system, and adding Sheriff to beef it up. That would be a massive uptick in Fields' protection. Hell, Leno single-handedly could be a piece that unlocks a few wins and secures another year of employment for Nagy and Pace. That should carry a tremendous amount of value, and our best way to cash in on that is for star linebacker Roquan Smith. With the leverage we have, we could land the former first-round linebacker for Leno and Sheriff. You know, having a fairly strong defense, this should be a sacrifice they're willing to make just to see Fields succeed. In return, we get a piece we need badly, still on a rookie deal, you know, from players that wouldn't be here next year anyway. It would be a massive chestnut checkers move for Ron. Send Leno and Sheriff to Chicago for Roquan Smith and get this defense where it's supposed to be. Jamin Davis and Roquan Smith next year at linebacker position, that'd be sweet. Another team needing help big time, are the Cincinnati Bengals. They are struggling mightily on the offensive line. They're a team towards the top of the pile, you know, when it comes to cap space. So they could even look at this as a door to sign a player like Sheriff for a few years. Send in both Cornelius Lucas, and Brandon Sheriff to shore up the right side opposite of Jonah Williams. Could turn this offense into something special. You know, I would love to go for a player like Jesse Bates in exchange, but he's going to be he's going into free agency after this season, so I don't want to waste, the trade. Instead, I'd go for last year's third-round pick linebacker Logan Wilson. He's playing great this season. He's already got 3 interceptions. And since he doesn't stack up value-wise, I think we could ask for their second-round pick to go along with him. So, Logan Wilson, a quality linebacker, young, in his second season, and their second-round pick from next year for Sheriff and Lucas. And that would still give us Leno to trade to, Carolina. So we get multiple players in return. And the last team I got here are the Raiders. Again, struggling offensive line. Not so much at left tackle as at right tackle. So a Lucas Sheriff package, or just Lucas on his own, could get us some nice value. Either way, it lets Alex Leatherford kick inside for the rest of the season and get his feet under him, while Mayock gets to keep the wins rolling and make a case to keep his job with Gruden gone. You know, there's a few interesting trade targets for us. Great coverage linebacker Corey Littleton that they signed last year in free agency. Hasn't quite worked out there yet. Maybe he could do better here. Problem with that is he's got a huge chunk of change left on his, due next season on his contract. So they're going to have to send a pick with him to make up for that. Also, rookie third-round pick Devon Diablo, 6'3", 225-pound safety turned linebacker. Could be a nice tackle on as well. It could be a great chance to get a look at Marcus Mariota before he hits free agency next year. Mariota should be our number one target in free agency. Heineke showed, how this offense can work, and Mariota could boost that big time with his ability. Trading for him gives us the ability to check on that, for the rest of the season and possibly sign him long term. It also lets us, enter the draft from a stronger, smarter position. At this point, Mariota, in my opinion, looks better than any option at quarterback in the draft. Signing him, let us maybe draft Grayson McCall in, the third round or something like that. That'd be the perfect guy to learn behind Marcus Mariota. So Lucas and Sheriff for Mariota, Diablo, and a third would be a great trade. So now the Jets, Patriots, and Packers are all teams that need some help, but I have no idea what, they could offer outside of the Packers giving away the linebacker they just signed, Jalen Smith. Don't see that happening. So it would basically boil down to draft picks, and that's boring. So let me know what you guys think down below. Is trading, these players away crazy? Is my evaluation crazy? Who do you think would make sense as a trade partner? Should we just hang on to these guys and ride them out for the rest of the season and let them, scamper off into the sunset with nothing in return? Should we take a shot? Try to make something of them for next year? Go ahead and cash in? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. And please, again, hit that like button. Subscribe down below. And if y'all stayed this long, I love y'all. Peace.